The sterile hum of the laboratory aboard the orbiting research vessel was a stark contrast to the howling winds and biting cold of Ilum's surface. Yet in this artificial sanctuary, amid banks of screens and arrays of analytical instruments, the legacy of a frozen world began to unfold. Dr. Alara Voss stood over a translucent crystalline shard, its facets catching the ambient light and scattering it into a soft blue glow. The fragment was more than just ice. It was a Kian-encoded message from a civilization that had long vanished beneath the planet's icy crust. Alara's fingers traced the intricate patterns etched into the shard's surface, each curve and line resonating with a silent language she was only beginning to understand. The inscriptions were not mere decoration, but a complex system of symbols and data storage, far beyond anything humanity had previously encountered. "These markings," she murmured, "they're a chronicle. A story of a civilization whose knowledge surpassed our wildest imaginings." Across the room, Mira Thalon was bent over a compact device, its alien construction a puzzle of smooth crystal and polished metal unlike any terrestrial technology. With a practiced hand, Mira adjusted a series of connectors, and the device emitted a low, steady hum. The light on its surface pulsed rhythmically, bathing the lab in eerie, shifting shadows. "It's alive," Myra said, with a mix of awe and cautious excitement. "Not just a relic, something that still holds power." Captain Rion Kessler joined them momentarily, his broad frame silhouetted against the viewport that looked down on Ilum's frozen expanse. His scarred face, usually set in a hard line of command, softened as he allowed himself to absorb the significance of their discoveries. "We came here to find answers," he said quietly, "and now we have to figure out what we do with them." The team's journey had been perilous, fraught with danger, betrayal, and loss. Yet the fruits of their labor promised not only to rewrite history, but also to challenge humanity's conception of its place among the stars. Dr. Jonas Reeve monitored the health of the team, both physical and psychological, aware that the burden of such revelations weighed heavily on their minds. Meanwhile, Lena Ortiz maintained a steady stream of communication with Earth, her voice a bridge between the isolation of Ilum and the wider universe. In the days that followed, the research intensified. Alara coordinated a multidisciplinary approach, bringing together linguistic analysis, xenohistorical context, and cutting-edge technology to decode the Ilum civilization's legacy. The shards and devices suggested a mastery over energy manipulation and environmental control, hinting at a society that had thrived in harmony with the harshest of climates. Mira's work with the alien devices opened new frontiers for applied science. The energy sources embedded within the ruins were clean, potent, and adaptably, potentially transformative for human technology. Yet she was cautious, aware that such power could equally bring destruction if mishandled. Ethical debates permeated their discussions. Alara wrestled with the question of how much should be revealed to the public. The knowledge held within the ruins carried the weight of responsibility, secrets that, if exploited recklessly, could repeat the mistakes that had doomed the ancient Ilum civilization. The team grappled with their roles as both discoverers and guardians. Captain Kessler's reflections grew deeper as he recalled the sacrifices made throughout their expedition. The scars on his cheek were a reminder of battles fought not only against the planet, but also within himself. The mission had changed him, as it had changed them all. The unity forged in adversity was fragile but vital, a testament to human endurance in the face of the unknown. Lena's transmissions to Earth sparked profound interest and debate. Governments and scientific communities clamored for information, eager to unlock the secrets of Ilum. Yet Alara insisted on measured disclosure, prioritizing caution over haste. The team's survival depended not just on physical endurance, but on the wisdom to wield newfound knowledge responsibly. As the orbiting vessel prepared to return to Earth, the frozen planet of Ilum receded beneath the endless expanse of stars. But its legacy endured, a testament to extremes of survival, the enduring impact of ancient civilizations, and the boundless curiosity that drove humanity ever onward. Elara looked out at the cosmos, the shard of crystal still warm in her hand. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. "Our place in the universe has forever changed." Outside, the icy winds of Ilum whispered their ancient secrets, waiting for the day when humanity might be ready to listen fully. And as the stars beckoned, the questions remained how to carry this legacy forward without losing themselves to its power. The journey of discovery was far from over. The hum of the equipment filled the cramped laboratory, a steady background to the flurry of activity that had taken over the expedition's main habitat module. Dr. Ilra Voss stood at the center, eyes fixed on the translucent holographic display hovering before her. The map was alive with flickering points of light-decoded signals from deep space, patterns that had only recently become clear through Mira Thalan's tireless work with alien technology. Elara's breath hitched slightly as the implications dawned on her. These signals weren't random. They were structured, deliberate, and unmistakably connected to the same ancient civilization whose ruins they had uncovered beneath Ilum's crystalline ice. But more than that, the signals traced a web extending far beyond the planetary cosmic lattice of lost worlds and civilizations, waiting in the shadows of the stars. Around her, the team gathered, drawn by the sense of revelation. Captain Rion Kessler leaned against the console, his broad frame tense, the scar along his cheek catching the soft light. "So, we're not dealing with just Ilum. This is bigger than any of us imagined." Myra's eyes sparkled, smudges of grease on her cheeks, testament to hours spent reverse engineering the alien devices. "The artifacts we recovered aren't isolated. Their designs correspond to tech in the signals. It's like pieces of a puzzle scattered across the galaxy." Lena Ortiz paced nearby, her fingers dancing over the communication console as she replayed a recently intercepted transmission. "I've caught fragment-coded messages from another system within this network. It's faint, but it's there. Could be a beacon or a warning." Dr. Jonas Reeve adjusted his glasses thoughtfully. "If this is true, the implications for xenobiology and astrocultural studies are staggering. We're looking at a civilization, or multiple civilizations, that predate recorded history by millennia." Elara nodded slowly, the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. "We need to understand what we're dealing with. This isn't just about exploration. It's about stewardship. We have to consider the impact of our actions on these ancient legacies." Outside the habitat module, the frozen plains of Ilum stretched endlessly, an alien wilderness shimmering under a distant sun. Captain Kessler stared out the viewport, the chill of the planet a sharp contrast to the heat of his thoughts. "The risks just got higher," he said quietly. "Every new discovery could bring us closer to danger. We have to be ready for whatever's out there." The team's discussions stretched late into the night, a blend of scientific debate and philosophical reflection. Myra's enthusiasm clashed at times with Kessler's caution, while Elara sought to mediate, grounding the conversation in pragmatism without quashing hope. As dawn's pale light crept over the horizon, Lena's voice broke through the quiet. "I've isolated another fragment from the transmission. It points to a nearby star system that hasn't been mapped or explored." A hush fell over the room. The prospect of a new frontier, untouched and mysterious, was both exhilarating and daunting. Elara met each of their eyes, seeing the mixture of anticipation and uncertainty mirrored in their faces. Ilum was just the beginning, she said softly. Our journey is far from over, but we must tread carefully. The secrets we uncover could change everything for better or worse. The chapter closed on the team poised at the brink of a new horizon, their fates intertwined with the echoes of civilizations long gone but not forgotten. The unknown stretched before them, an invitation and a challenge wrapped in the glittering cold of the cosmic night. What lay beyond the unseen horizons? The answer awaited, hidden in the dark spaces between stars and the frozen mysteries beneath alien ice. The transport shuttle hummed steadily as it drifted through the void, the distant stars casting faint pinpricks of light on the frost-coated windows. Inside, the crew had settled into a somber quietude, each member wrapped in their own thoughts, shadows of the past weeks lingering in the air like a dense fog. Dr. Ravos sat alone at a small table cluttered with worn notebooks and half-empty cups of synthetic coffee. Her pen moved deliberately across the page, sketching words that sought to capture the inexpressible weight of their ordeal. The chill of the cabin seeped into her bones, but it was nothing compared to the cold emptiness she felt inside. The faces of those lost haunted her, their silence a constant reminder of the price paid. Yet, beneath the sorrow lay a flicker of something else, a fragile hope born from the knowledge they had uncovered. She paused, her gaze drifting to a photograph pinned nearby, her mentor smiling with an unspoken promise of discovery that had fueled her journey. Writing steadily, Elara allowed herself a rare moment of vulnerability, acknowledging that survival was not just physical endurance, but also a reckoning with the soul. Across the cabin, Captain Rian Kessler stood rigid by the viewport, the scar on his cheek catching the faint light as he stared out into the abyss. His breath fogged the glass, each exhale a visible testament to the life force he fought to preserve. Memories of the failed rescue mission that had once tormented him now mingled with the fresh wounds of Ilum. The cold planet had stripped away his defenses, forcing him to confront emotions long suppressed. Yet, in that solitude, he found a strange clarity, acceptance that leadership was as much about trust and connection as command and control. A quiet resolve settled over him as he straightened, ready to face whatever lay ahead with renewed purpose. Nearby, Mira Thalon worked silently, her fingers deftly adjusting the delicate mechanisms of a communication device scavenged from the ruins. Her usually bright eyes were subdued, the grease smudges on her hands a reminder of the hands-on reality beyond theoretical science. She glanced over at Dr. Jonas Reeve, who was tending to a small plant specimen, his calm presence a balm to her restless spirit. I never imagined the responsibility that would come with this technology, she admitted softly. Jonas nodded understandingly, offering words of reassurance that balanced caution with encouragement. Their conversation was a rare moment of openness, bridging the gap between youthful ambition and seasoned wisdom. Myra's impulsiveness had been tempered by hardship, and in this quiet exchange, she began to embrace the patience required to wield such power responsibly. In the corner, Lena Ortiz laughed softly with a few remaining crew members, her warmth a stark contrast to the icy silence that had settled over the cabin. Her smile, though genuine, masked the loneliness that had crept into her heart during the mission's darkest hours. She had been the voice of hope, the link to home, yet the isolation of space had tested her spirits. As the conversation faded, she found herself staring at the blinking console that held their last intercepted transmissions. The secrets of Ilum had changed everything, and though the future was uncertain, the bonds forged in this crucible of survival would be their anchor. Throughout the shuttle, the echoes of Ilum reverberated, not just in the data they carried, but in the hearts and minds of those who had faced its frozen frontier. Each reflection, each whispered fear, and every shared moment of solace wove together a tapestry of resilience and humanity. They were survivors, yes, but more than that, they were witnesses to a mystery that transcended time and space. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, the question lingered silently in the void. How would they carry the weight of these revelations forward, and what price would the future demand? The journey was far from over. Alara closed her journal with a soft sigh, the ink still fresh. Outside, the distant glow of a nebula cast shifting hues across the cabin walls. A reminder that even in darkness, light persisted. She rose, moving toward the others, ready to share the burden and the hope. The expedition had changed them all, but in their unity lay the strength to face the unknown. "We made it through," she said quietly, meeting Kessler's gaze. He nodded, a rare softness in his eyes. Together, and in that simple truth, the seeds of healing took root. The void was silent, but within it, the echoes of their story would endure. The shelter was a fragile refuge against the relentless cold that gripped Ilum's crystalline expanse. Outside, the biting wind howled like a living thing, rattling the ice-encrusted walls and threatening to seep in through every crack. Yet inside, a different atmosphere blossomed, one of rare warmth and tentative hope. Around a flickering campfire, the survivors of the lost expedition gathered, their faces illuminated by the dancing orange light that softened the harshness of their weather-beaten features. Dr. Ilara Voss sat near the center, her lean frame wrapped tightly in layered thermal gear, fingers wrapped around a steaming cup that radiated a welcome heat. For the first time in weeks, the tension that had gripped her shoulders seemed to ease, replaced by an almost fragile peace. Around her, the others shared stories, some humorous, others tinged with the rawness of their ordeal, laughter breaking through the heavy silence that had so often surrounded them. Captain Rion Kessler stood off to one side, broad shoulders relaxed, the scar on his left cheek catching the firelight. His usual vigilance was softened, eyes scanning the room with a quiet appreciation rather than suspicion. He caught Alara's gaze and nodded slightly, a simple gesture weighted with unspoken meaning. Between them lay a bridge built from trials endured and trust earned, a far cry from the rigid command clashes and distrust that had marked earlier days. Mira Thalon sat cross-legged near the fire, her bright eyes reflecting the flames as she carefully examined a small piece of alien technology they had salvaged from the ruins. Her fingers, usually quick and impulsive, moved with a new steadiness as Dr. Jonas Reeve, tall and thin with his ever-present medical kit, leaned in beside her. Their whispered conversation was filled with reflections on the lessons learned, the dangers of reckless curiosity tempered by the necessity of caution and teamwork. Lena Ortiz, ever the optimistic spirit, sat with a warm smile, her fingers deftly adjusting the communications array. Suddenly, a crackling voice pierced the static, a faint transmission from Earth. The sound seemed almost miraculous in its clarity, a lifeline back to the world they all missed. The group fell silent, listening intently as the voice wove through the icy air, a reminder of home and the future that awaited them. Alara rose, her gaze sweeping across the gathered faces, each marked by fatigue, loss, but also an unmistakable resilience. "We've been through hell," she began, voice steady, "but we're here because we didn't give up on each other. That's our greatest strength. The bonds we've forged, not just as colleagues, but as people who've survived the impossible together." Kessler stepped forward, his tone gruff but sincere. "I was wrong to be so rigid. It nearly cost us everything. But you all showed me what it means to trust, to rely on each other. We're stronger for it." Mira looked up from her device, a rare softness in her expression. I've learned that some risks are worth taking, but only when we face them together. Jonas nodded, adding, our survival wasn't just physical. It was the trust and care we gave one another that kept us whole. Lena's smile widened as she turned back to the communications console. And now, with this connection, we can carry that strength back to Earth. We're not just survivors, we're a team. The fire crackled, sending sparks swirling upward like tiny stars lost in the frozen void. Outside, Ilum's crystalline forests shimmered under the faint glow of distant moons, a silent witness to the journey these explorers had endured. Inside, the survivors sat closer, their shared warmth a testament to the unbreakable bonds forged in ice and adversity. As the night deepened, Alara pulled her journal from her pack, pen poised to capture this moment of unity. But before the words could flow, the communication array crackled again. A new message, unexpected and urgent. She exchanged a look with Kessler, Mira, and the others. The expedition's end was near, but their story was far from over. The bonds they had forged in the frozen wilderness of Ilum would be tested once more, but whatever the future held, they would face it together. And as the fire's last embers faded, a new resolve ignited within them all, lighting the path home. The campfire's glow painted long shadows on the ice-encrusted walls, but it also illuminated the faces of those who had once been strangers, now bound by shared hardship and triumph. Illyria's journal lay open, the pages filled with notes, sketches, and reflections, a chronicle not just of discovery, but of transformation. Do you think we'll ever be the same? Mira's voice broke the quiet, her tone a mixture of wonder and uncertainty. Alara looked up, meeting the young engineer's gaze. No, and I don't think we should be. We've seen things, learned things, that change how we understand ourselves and the universe. That knowledge comes with responsibility, and it changes us. Kessler nodded slowly. We carry scars, sure, but also something stronger, a bond that can't be broken by distance or time. Jonas added softly, it's those bonds that will help us heal and help others understand what we've been through. Lena smiled, adjusting a knob on the communicator. And soon, the world will hear our story. They'll know we didn't just survive Ilum, we grew from it. Outside, the wind's howl softened, as if Ilum itself was listening. The frozen planet held its secrets still, but the survivors had claimed their own, a legacy of endurance, trust, and unity born from the depths of isolation and danger. The bonds they forged would carry them forward into the unknown horizons that awaited beyond the ice. And with that, the lost expedition's end was not a conclusion, but the beginning of everything that was yet to come. The humming engines of the starship Serenity thrummed steadily beneath the feet of the weary survivors as they gathered on the observation deck. Outside the massive viewport, the frozen planet of Ilum shrank slowly, its glittering crystalline ice forests stretching endlessly beneath the pale light of a distant sun. The dazzling beauty of the ice formations, once a source of wonder and terror in equal measure, now seemed to pulse softly in the fading light, a silent guardian of secrets half revealed. Dr. Alara Voss stood apart from the others, her sharp eyes tracing the contours of the planet's surface. The wear and fatigue of their ordeal had etched lines deeper into her weather-beaten face, but the fire of determination still burned within. In her hands, she held a crystalline artifact, its facets catching the light and scattering it into prismatic fragments. The patterns etched within the crystal were unlike anything she had ever seen. Alien in origin, yet somehow hauntingly familiar. Memories surged unbidden, the ice tunnels where shadows danced, the blizzard that almost claimed them all, the betrayal that nearly shattered their fragile unity. "I never imagined we'd survive," she murmured, her voice barely a whisper lost in the hum of the ship. Jonas Reeve approached quietly, his tall frame casting a long shadow. "Survival was never guaranteed," he replied, adjusting his glasses with a practiced motion. "But we endured. That counts for something." Across the room, Captain Rion Kessler leaned against the railing, his broad shoulders tense but relaxed for the first time in weeks. The scar on his left cheek caught the light, a silent testament to battles fought within and without. Mira Thalon, her hands still faintly stained with grease, sat nearby, her bright eyes reflecting a mixture of exhaustion and hope. "You know," Mira said softly, "I never thought I'd make it through without blowing something up." Kessler allowed a rare smile. "You kept us alive better than anyone else might have. Reckless, maybe, but effective." Their shared glance spoke volumes of growth, forgiveness, and the bonds forged in the crucible of survival. The conflicts and fractures that had once threatened to undo them now seemed like distant echoes, softened by time and understanding. Lena Ortiz's voice crackled over the intercom, drawing their attention. "This is Lena. Earth's listening." The room fell silent as she began transmitting the data collected during their mission. The weight of responsibility settled heavily over the group. Their discoveries could rewrite textbooks, challenge long-held beliefs, and perhaps even alter humanity's place in the cosmos. Alara stepped forward, placing the crystalline artifact carefully on the table. "We've only scratched the surface. Ilum's secrets are vast, and the price we paid was high. But we must share what we've learned. Cautiously, ethically, with respect for the unknown." The others nodded solemnly. For all the triumphs and revelations, questions lingered. What ancient forces still slumbered beneath Ilum's ice? What consequences awaited those who dared to pry too deep? As the Serenity sailed away from the frozen frontier, the team gathered once more beneath the stars. Each face bore the marks of endurance and sacrifice, but also the flicker of hope that from these icy depths, new beginnings might emerge. "We're not the same people who landed here," Kessler said quietly, "but maybe that's the point." Alara smiled faintly, eyes fixed on the distant horizon. "Not the same, better." The ship's engines thrummed louder, carrying them homeward through the void, leaving Ilum's shimmering ice forests behind, a silent testament to the enduring spirit of exploration. The cost of knowledge and the infinite mysteries still waiting in the dark. But as the stars stretched out before them, a single question burned brighter than any beacon. What would they do next? And what price was humanity willing to pay to unlock the secrets of the universe? The lost expedition of Ilum had ended, yet the story was only just beginning.